Um, I also was very concerned that we had, at that point in time, 20, 30 years ago, there was a lot of debate over the medical model versus a biopsychosocial model. And what I felt was really important is that we start calling it what it is, which is a biomedical, psychosocial, and cultural model, and that we really need to embrace it. It's a mouthful, but we need to at least understand that that's what's going on, that there's certainly organic factors. We used to talk about whether it was organic or psychogenic. So there's certainly organic factors. But by biomedical, I also mean that there's interventions by surgeons, interventions by medical physicians using medications that the side effects can have an adverse effect on sexuality, or with the new sexual medicine drugs that have been around since 1998, really, when Viagra was launched by Pfizer, that can extend sexual capacity and be of help. And yet, all these things take place within a given culture. And one of the things I appreciate about being able to do this lecture is to reach a larger global audience, because it really does matter where this is taking place. Where are the people coming from who are speaking to you? What is their culture? And that can vary within given nations as well as between nations, of course. So eventually these factors, if I can raise enough money through the foundation to be able to do an animation, I want to be able to show this three-dimensionally. And at that point, these factors are going to be vectors, meaning they're going to be positioned in space three-dimensionally. And that cartoon will then be able to illustrate what we're talking about. So this is the closest I could get to try and begin to shape that in my mind as to how we might be able to do that. So you see the various factors in each of these containers on this balance beam. And they've got letters and numbers next to them. And what I've done underneath there is to list the mental factors in the mind that could include thoughts, emotions, feelings, interpersonal and relational factors, cultural factors, the actual friction in sexual stimulation as a behavior in and of itself, and then things that are unknown that may be having an impact that we have no idea. And then you see I have the word "and" right here, and all these dots going across and up. And I did that to try and symbolize for whoever I try and get to do this animation, the fact that these things are permeable, that there's a real overlap between the mental and physical, in the sense that, brain thoughts that may be electronic, if you will, based on neurotransmitters, have both a physical reality as well as the thought itself being more, quote unquote, within the mind. So we know that the thoughts and learnings we have actually shape the brain and our physical being. And I wanted to have that be implied as well. But the physical factors include, but are not limited to, anatomical. So I've got, P1, how P1 might be up here so that it's inhibiting something, or, or it could be, over on this side, exciting something as an anatomical factor. Then drugs and alcohol effects, endocrine effects, genetic predispositions, neurological input, and again, things that are unknown. So at some point, I hope to have, if I can pull it together, an animation that can really illustrate all this three-dimensionally. What I do have now available on the website of the foundation is just a one-pager that explains everything that I just showed you in the previous cartoon. And that, again, is available for free download for you, for those who want to pursue this and understand it even a little bit better. But the bottom line here is we're trying to instill hope and ease of understanding for the patient. We're trying to teach the patient the model to provide a vehicle for explaining etiology simply to the patient, to highlight treatment targets for change. So what I've also done more recently is I've done some Psychology Today blogs that are available, again, for free download, to share with your patients in order to facilitate that process. So if you're a little pressed for time and you're trying to explain this and it's not coming out exactly as you might hope, these are available to be able to share with you, both for yourself and for your patients. But essentially, once mistaken beliefs and other anti-sexual thoughts are recognized as sabotaging sexual success, hope can be instilled by explaining how a sexual problem's causes, once identified, can be fixed. So what's the takeaway from this talk's first section? First, you want to recognize that the sexual dysfunction is always determined by biomedical, psychosocial, behavioral, and cultural factors. Second, an individual's sexual function at any given moment in time is determined by the net sum of those factors. Third, you want to identify the key interfering factors as initial treatment targets. And fourth, you want to inspire hope by explaining the STP formulation and the initial treatment targets to the patient. So again, you're going to explain how things can turn on, how things can turn off.